Hey, are you ready to listen to some other rep talk about how they're prospecting? I think it's really helpful because what you hear is the struggles that they're facing. Now, this rep is selling marketing services to either marketing people or to CEOs of small and medium-sized companies. And guess what? If you try and use the pitch in this type of market, it's you don't get time enough because everyone wants to commoditize us. What everyone is thinking when you get a pitch is who you are, what you do, why do I need it, how are you different than anything else? And it's hard to convey that until you have that rapport built. So we're going to get into how he's doing it. So you get to listen to how other people are having success, failure, struggling with it, and building up connections, network, and engaging with people. At the end, I'll sum it up. I'll explain what I would do differently. I'll explain why I see this working and how it could work for you. And when you're listening to this, you might say, oh, it's another, either social selling. I don't think this isn't really social selling. I think that term is now dead. I think we're all selling and we're all using different channels. Some of them are on the internet. Because in the 90s, they called it telesales because we used the phone instead of driving up and hoping we could get a meeting with somebody. Imagine that's what people used to do. Unannounced, no scheduled appointment. And what's happening is that the same patterns are being repeated because that got replaced by don't just show up. You have to have an appointment. And now it's like, don't just call, have an appointment to have a call. Have an appointment to talk about things. So I think this is a great conversation. I think people like to hear from other reps and what they're up against. And this is a person responsible for building up new demand for his dad's company. And imagine that pressure. So I think you'll get a lot out of it. I'll sum it up at the end, and I'll give you an update on what's going on here. Before we do, I want to make sure you're checking out Pipedrive. I work together with them on an objection handling tool. So you type in the objection that you have, and it comes up with results from me and a bunch of other people. So go to pipedrive.com, check it out. It'll give you some ideas. It's not like there's the golden answer that fits everybody in every situation. And I still believe that objections are best prevented than handled. Once you're handling it, you kind of stepped over a line or moving a little bit too fast. That's the signal you're getting. Or they want to push you into a corner. Tell us your price. And all of those things are best prevented and recognize them for what they are. So go to pipedrive.com, try out the product with the Brutal Truth, all one word, coupon code. And if you hit the details tab, that you see, it's a hyperlink on your podcast player. You see the show notes. All the links are in there. And just read through that. You might find some bargains and just check things out. Also, Co-Video, they're putting out videos on how to get comfortable in front of the camera. And consistently, what I'm hearing when I do talk to reps about one of the power tools that they're using is video email. So tell them I sent you over from the podcast. Let's get into the interview, and I'll hit you up at the end. Hey, Connor, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Brian, the OG LinkedIn Master Burns. Appreciate you having me on. It's an honor. I'm super grateful to get to serve your audience today. And so a little bit about myself, a little bit of background. Born and raised here in Colorado and Fort Collins, actually, little town north of Denver. And I started my first business at the age of 7.
Why'd you wait so long?
I know, right? I probably should have started just straight from the right. Yeah, but I was slinging, 6-figure high dollar SaaS at 7. So, I was early to the game in that.
Some second grade implementations.
Exactly. Listen, I don't mean to start by lying to your audience. I actually sold rocks. That was my very first business.
Yeah.
I sold rocks. 9/11 hit, right? The Twin Towers went down and I wanted a way to give back. So I took rocks from my neighbor's yard and I painted them with patriotic symbols, and I went to a motorcycle rally and I sold them, and I sold rocks, and I made some money, and I donated it all to the efforts for rebuilding 9/11. I was 7 years old at the time.
Wow. That's nice. Patriotic.
A little patriotic, yeah. So I grew up with family, real estate parents. My dad's been an entrepreneur for many years, so I've always had kind of that big passion for sales and for marketing, and really where the marriage between the two occurs. And I ended up going to school for marketing, which I felt was the way current sales and marketing are, and you know this because you're a sales educator. I felt very disserved with my marketing degree, just to be frank with you. And I went to school here in Denver. And so, but during that time, one of the most valuable things that I learned was when I was actually working my way through school. I actually did 2.5 years of door-to-door sales. We were talking about Brian Tracy before, we started door-to-door sales, a role that most people don't last for 2 weeks. Maybe
that's got to be that's even harder than cold calling.
You think?
I think so, because a hang up or don't call me back versus a door slammed in your face,
or shoved down the driveway, or a dog.
The sound of the machine gun.
Yeah, right.
Especially in Colorado, people are kind of very independent and all over the map, right? The pioneers.
I could only tell, I refer to it like, I still have PTSD from my days of doing door-to-door sales. I've seen it all. Like, I've had nudists answer the door. I've had people with guns. Like you said, I've been sicked on by dogs, and I've had a guy with a baby in his arms push me down the driveway and call the cops. So I've seen all the craziness of doing door-to-door sales. But one thing that was interesting, because where I'm at now, right, no matter what business you're in, what industry you're in, your background kind of formulates your existing mentality of what you do. Even if you're a direct competitor with someone, you have a different way of perceiving things. So I watched this company explode from $13 million to $72 million in the 3.5 year period I was there. Now, I had a lot of success doing door-to-door sales. I went on to lead, manage teams, helped grow that division to over 8 figures. I went in and managed another department over there, helped grow that to 8 figures in a 1.5 years. So at the age of 22, I was managing 25 sales and marketers, training, getting them producing, and expanded that up to 8 figures. And I'm like, whoa, this is cool. Like, growth, expansion. I love this. How can I continue to do this? But the thing that I hated about it was I was working for somebody else.
Go figure, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. Someone like me, who would have thought, right?
And what didn't you like about that? Was it the resetting of your comp plan every year? Was it the lack of control, or the just getting a small fraction of what you were producing? All of that, or
ego?
Ego? A salesperson with ego?
Right. I just always knew I wanted to be entrepreneurial at a very young age. And so ego, just like I just can't stand reporting to somebody else. It drives me crazy. Like I just love doing things on my own time, freedom. That's why a lot of salespeople are in sales, is the freedom that it provides, right?
Independence. So
here's something really interesting, Brian, that kind of led me to where I'm at now. Is when I was doing door-to-door sales and I was running the event marketing team there, and I'd either go to someone's doorstep or they'd come see us at a trade show, I started to see this trend, right? This trend that I realized expanded this company the way that it did. And it was, let's say I go to someone's door and they'd be they'd be super happy I'm there. No, they'd be upset.
Hi, kind stranger.
Yeah, right.
I've got too much money. Would you like some?
Yeah. Like, dude, I'm in the middle of cooking dinner. I'm like, I know. I don't want to be here as much as you don't want me here. Yeah. But and they'd be pissed at me, right? Like, oh, you guys were freaking here last week, and you just sent me an email this morning, and I saw you guys at the Home and Garden Show last week, and isn't that your mailer in the mailbox? And you guys called me this afternoon. Like, stop bugging me, but you know what? I do need your help, so let's set an appointment.
Yeah.
So this guy hated me that I was at his doorstep, but I still, it was all those touch points that led to that meeting, to that opportunity, right? So I'm like, whoa, this guy had to see us 6, 7, 8, 9, 15 times before he even decided he wanted to do business with us. Now, fast forward from there a little bit, I left college, graduated, got my marketing degree, and my dad has actually been an innovator in the content marketing space for the last 18 years. I was either going to go completely full on entrepreneurship, or I was going to go work with him. And I saw the vehicle. So I decided to go partner up with my dad in his business, which is now Active Blogs, and wanted to bring that same expansion, that same growth that I witnessed while I was working my way through college in those departments and in that company. So I stepped into the business, and he also, Brian, he's been focused around companies that sell really technical, really high value, complex business to business sales. We've done companies anywhere from Time Warner Telecom to, weird biotechnology companies that people just like, they're just mad scientists and they just don't know really how to create content or market themselves. So kind of me, like this young dude from college, like I'm going in these really like dusty, archaic industries, in very complex industries. And I'm like, how can I first bring this omnipresence into our own business? And how can I bring this to the table with our clients where we're already doing a bunch of content for them? We're doing a bunch of collateral, but we're not getting them the reach.
Yeah. So who were you calling on? Was it CMOs or was it product managers? Who were you targeting?
All of the above. It really depends on the size of the company. We work with a lot of, SMB companies, which is a space I really like working with because we've worked with the CenturyLinks of the world, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun, but when you're impacting the bottom line there, it's like a drop in the bucket compared to a company.
Hard. Yeah.
Right. Like we're working with a client now that we're like our objective is 50 to 100 million. That's so exciting. Like that's a big, change for them. But anyways, I'm sorry, what was your question?
Yeah. Who were you calling on and why would they go with you guys versus in-house or a big name agency or an existing agency?
Focus, I would say messaging, because, and this is something I talk about quite a bit, is there's a lot, like how many marketing agencies are out there, right? Like
a lot.
How many would you guess? How many sales trainers are out there?
A lot.
Right? A lot.
Yeah.
So
there's no barrier to entry, right? There's no accreditation. It's very hard to interpret what's good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I came into my dad's business, I kind of intuitively felt that, there's so much noise that's occurring. Like the big content marketing boom happened a few years ago. And I realized, I asked him, I'm like, who do we really like serve best over the years? Who have we really like dominated in the space? And he's like, we've done a lot of IT, and IT is a big, massive umbrella. Yeah. There's like 500 industries and sub-industries. But the second we started leading, we still service 70 different industries, but the second we started leading with the IT verticals in our marketing message, on my social media profile, when I started to, kind of fumble around with LinkedIn social selling, we had a huge impact on the bottom line. I stepped in, we grew 30% the first year. This is an 18-year-old business that's, flirting with sizable revenues, done millions of dollars of residual revenues over the years, grew 30%. We doubled the following year. And now we're, my intention is to build this out to 8 figures. And we're a small, family business here in Colorado.
And what is your role? Are you acquiring clients, managing the business, everything?
When you're a small family business, you're wearing all the hats, but I'm the director of sales and marketing and partner. I'm technically a partner, but I'm the director of sales and marketing.
Yeah.
So I do everything, new business development. We have an entire team that manages the servicing side of the clients. They're amazing. I do everything, bringing them in and marketing.
So let's talk about that. Like, how do you get a new client? Or what does your day look like on the business generation side, on the cold outreach?
Well, let's talk about what I did wrong in the beginning.
Maybe that'll be more helpful. Yeah.
Is I came into the business from this, multi-million-dollar company with, sizable marketing budgets. And I come in, I'm like, my dad's Mark Doobie. We're the Doobie brothers, but please don't ask us to sing.
Oh, God. Got to grow your hair out.
Yeah, exactly. So I came in, I'm like, what do we have to work with to grow the sales budget-wise? It's like, well, we have no budget. We don't really have cash to invest in that. We just hired you. We've got, a service team and everything. So good luck, champ. Yeah. I'm like, all right, well, cool. So I realized first off, our space, LinkedIn, is the platform to be on. Yeah. Right. And
did that take time, or were you dabbling with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube?
I tried to do everything. Yeah. I tried to what most people do when they're either
the shotgun and then they go, nothing's working.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or did LinkedIn kind of just surface up?
Well, we already knew. Our space, we already knew LinkedIn because my dad's been in B2B for 18 years. He was like, go use LinkedIn and go hit people up. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I started studying and researching everything I could. Matter of fact, I came across you very early on in those days, and I've been following you ever since.
That was probably a very smart move.
Yeah, that was good. You're absolutely right, Brian. Yeah. And you guys who are listening to this right now too, you're in the right hands, just so you know. I've been consuming your content for a while, but a lot of other people, right? I've kind of built a context from these LinkedIn gurus, LinkedIn experts, trainers, consultants, coaches, and I put all the pieces that I liked and I kind of built my own formula out of it, and I threw out the junk that I didn't like. And so I mentioned doing the things I'm doing wrong, which is what most people, it's more about what they're doing wrong on LinkedIn right now, what they're doing right. Crappy automation, trying to spend a ton of money on paid ads in what you can build organically in the beginning. Not that paid ads are bad, but you can build a
super expensive
pipeline. So expensive.
Yeah.
And connecting, pitching people, like all the junk that everyone hates is, several years ago where I started trying to fill my own sales pipeline. And, over time, over putting arrows in my back and practitionership, I've, developed out a consistent formula that helps to reach more of the right people, which is everything, no matter what you're doing. And consistency, consistently staying in front of them.
Yeah. Now, have you found, I'm sure your markets or your target people are in marketing, or are they? Because I found that very few marketing people are on LinkedIn. Like I did a video to the sales reps, go down to marketing and grab those people and show them how to use LinkedIn, because that's the trade show, right? That's where the center of the village is today.
Yeah, you killed it with that video. I love that. I think I shared that video actually, by the way. No, it's so true. This is where people get very, very hung up when it comes to leveraging LinkedIn, leveraging, social selling is a buzzword. It's same as
it's kind of marketing. Expired. It was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and now it's just selling.
Yeah, I mean, it's social selling is just like content marketing is technically all marketing has content. Otherwise, it wouldn't be marketing.
So right. I mean, it's always, even from the early soap operas, they were selling soap. Right. The content was the drama, but the break was talking about laundry soap, laundry detergent. And it's always been there. Before we had ebooks, we had real books, and they would like 25-page, nicely done book, and people would fill out a bingo card, which is the web form today, and it'd be mailed to them, snail mail versus email today. So this is not like a revolutionary concept.
Right. Now, before I answer your question about reach on the marketing side, because you probably have some people in your audience who sell to the marketers, and I'm more than happy to provide the insight secret sauce behind that. But here's something I want to emphasize for everybody, because remember, I learned about this omnipresence, and really sales and marketing has not changed. The thing that's changed the most is the buyer.
Yeah.
So you really just have to be able to get in front of them and stay in front of them more now than ever before. Sales and marketing is the same it's been for 100 years. So I don't think cold calling is not dead. Email marketing is not dead. Trade shows, conferences, all these things are still valuable in their own sense, but they all should be helping to bring that reach and to bring the consistency. LinkedIn really is just where you can close the gap on all that stuff. So I just kind of wanted to lay that foreground down in terms of my mentality with everything, which is why I'm able to get my foot in the door with CEOs of these archaic, dusty, they're doing $150 million in sales, $50 million in sales, because I take that mentality. And that's also what's differentiated me from other marketing agencies is they say social media or die, or, got to be on LinkedIn and go all in on LinkedIn, or your business is going to die. And they're like, yeah, whatever, schmuck. Like I grew this business for years without that. And that's where I've been able to gain the ear of those people. Now, in terms of LinkedIn, here's where salespeople, if you're a business development, you're a sales rep, you're selling to a CIO of a Fortune 500 company, or a CTO, or a marketing director, or chief marketing officer, no matter who it is, there are on average 6.8 influencers, decision makers on any enterprise level purchase. Your product and service is probably not, you're not selling Girl Scout cookies. It's probably a sizable, big deal. Go ahead, Brian.
Right. Because even going back to the door-to-door example, all those different things, the billboard, the mailer, the dropping by the day before, it was part of becoming or going from unknown to known. And being on LinkedIn, it's like you're now part of a tribe. You're being seen. And people now know who you are. So it's like that first stage of that relation, that tribalism. And I remember selling Boy Scout candy door to door. That's the only door to door experience I had.
Candy's a little easier than, $100,000 windows, but I'm sure it was still.
Yeah, but you're a kid, right? Yeah. You're 13 years old, and you don't talk to adults, right? Adults talk to you. And I remember doing it. And of course, 9 out of 10, they wouldn't even answer the door. But then I remember going to somebody who was in the troop, and they go, no, he's from the troop. And the mother ran down the street to catch me. My point is that I was in the tribe. She didn't do that for the candy. She did that to have social proof that you are part of the tribe and I will support you. And I think that's what social gets you. It gets you known, and you start to build a little bit of trust.
Exactly. It gets you the validation, but I also I spoke for Startup Grind a couple weeks ago. They're 2 million members internationally, and I take those opportunities and use LinkedIn to tie in the consistency of staying in front of them. Because again, timing, need, opportunity. But yeah, you're right. Tribalism is really important. We're kind of talking about how you reach the unreachable on LinkedIn. And the best thing I've learned over the years, and maybe also from the door-to-door experience, is that because there's so many influencers now and buyers are bringing more people, like it's more of a democracy than a dictatorship in a buying committee now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of people involved, a lot more than are visible, and a lot more than we give attribution to, especially as the dollar amount and the impact of the business goes up. The number of people who stick their fingers on it. Now, can they say no? No. Can they say yes? No.
Yeah.
But they can delay things. They can muddy the water with FUD.
Right.
And it's so much better to have them on your side than have them not know who you are.
Right. And so I have so many clients that come to me and like, hey, we're having a real tough time breaking into CTOs of hospitals, right? Well, when you really break it apart, the director of IT, the president, procurement department, like there's so many different titles that surround that one person. And LinkedIn provides you to build that influence. And we talked about omnipresence. I talked about omnipresence on this big, Brian sees I'm like got these arms waving around, big like scale. But you can take that same omnipresence and implement it in a microscopic way on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
The omnipresence that occurs with all the sphere of influencers. So I've done a lot of business with really successful companies, IT companies, where they've been pitched a lot of different marketing services by building the foundational relationships on social with a sales assistant or with a assistant in the company or operations director or their IT person. I just understand the exponential implications of all the people that are inside that, house.
Especially you're selling a service that they're not going to understand in a 30-second pitch. They'll understand what you do, but they won't understand how you're different and the impact it can have on their company. Everybody needs better marketing, right? There's no, except for maybe Apple. Everybody still needs better marketing, right?
Well, Coca-Cola still pumps so much money into their ads. They don't need it, right?
Yeah. But to articulate the differentiators and what you can do, especially when it's a complex service, it's not going to be a cold call pitch. It's not going to be a pitch at all. It's not going to be an email pitch. You have to build up a rapport and a level of curiosity and interest.
Now, there is a difference between, in my opinion, between a pitch and understanding people's pains and problems and value. And this is something also that salespeople have to realize and that marketers have to realize now because of social, because of the tie of social and how it plays a role in complex sales. They can't be in their own silos anymore. They have to be married. They need to be married together to reach the complex buyer now and to do high dollar sales. And so you talk about messaging, you're right. That's taking it all the way back. That's been the biggest thing that's made a difference for me and for our clients that we've helped to do these really complex things, which makes it very hard to communicate in a quick, on your website landing page or on your social media profiles, like what you do. But the thing that's the same for everybody is the pains they're experiencing, the problems they have. That is where people need to be leading with their social media profiles, not being infatuated with their product or their service or just purely at a high level how you help people. It's more about how do you close the gap on the problems. That's easier to explain than your SaaS product that you need a 2-hour demo to get through to somebody.
People want to solve problems. They want more revenue and they want more leads. That's what you guys do.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's either money, time, broken systems, competition. Like they all kind of fall under, no matter what you sell, they all kind of fall under umbrella of a handful of things.
And if you can talk to those things, you're going to have a much more engaging conversation. And you're going to get more traction than talking about who you are and what you do and how you're different.
I truly believe that the most successful companies who are starting up here in the next 10 years, 5 years, maybe you're just now, you're listening to this and you just started your company. I really believe that the most successful companies that'll get the biggest head start are going to be absolute specialists. Yeah. We live in a world of specialists now where you used to be able to get away with being a generalist. So if you're in IT and you say, we service everyone and everyone, you're going to get so freaking lost in all the noise out there. And I see you smile because you probably deal with this all the time.
Well, when I talk to reps, it's like they're in kind of an order taking role, and that's going away, or the money's going to go away. The money is people who can go in and get into a cold account and build that cold account into a big deal. That's what every company wants, because nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
Anybody can take an order, right? And to do that is a talent. It's a skill. And especially today where, the inbound that is authentic and identifiable is pretty narrow, right? Because people put in Gmail accounts and a lot of people aren't gating their content anymore, for better or for worse. But now we have the opposite problem. Now everybody's visible, right? Because I got into sales and nobody was visible, right? The phone books were out of date. You had to call the main number. And who's in charge of that? And they knew you were a salesperson. They put you the same voicemail every time. This is even before voicemail. Let me take a message. Oh, they'll get right back to you. But today it's just the opposite. Everyone's visible. Everyone's email can be determined. Their phone number can kind of be reverse engineered, but they don't want to talk to us. Why? This is all about us. So we have to become better.
So you think that you feel like back when you were a sales engineer at one point, right, Brian?
I started out as a sales engineer, sales rep, but we're talking about well before you were born.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised. I get cold called and people are like, hey, who's in charge of sales and marketing? I'm like, what? Like literally 2 seconds of research. I mean, that's silly. Like people know that. People should know that now. If you're trying to ask who the right person is, well, and also like if you have to ask who the right person is, you don't fundamentally understand what you're selling in the first place,
or how to sell it,
or the problems you're actually solving for people.
Right, because you're not an intelligence agency. Everything about your company and you is probably visible. And if they can't find a nice, easy way to engage you in a conversation, it's just laziness. Never mind who's in charge. They're talking to you. They can find out what you care about, what your background is, what your interests are, what you're trying to accomplish. You've got content out there. You have opinions about things that you feel strongly about and against. And if somebody touched those buttons, you're off to the races.
Yeah, one of my favorite ways that people see social selling, since it is one of the best ways to get in initial contact with your buyer. Would you agree with that? Like LinkedIn probably is one of the major key ways to do it.
Yeah, I hate to use that term because it reminds me of telesales. Right?
Which term?
Social selling.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, people misunderstand what that means.
Yeah. Because it's research, it's connecting with people. But you got to treat it more like you're in person, right? You don't walk up to somebody and hand a business card. You're essentially a beggar.
Unless you're in real estate or
Right. But those people, they fall into it because there's no base salary. Right? Because they'll hire anyone. And nobody trains them because they don't stay long enough. But when you go to a party and you want to be introduced to somebody for whatever reason, social, financial, boredom, whatever, what do? You don't go telling them how great you are. You tell them how great they are.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, well, and sometimes it's also easy for salespeople to there's a way to lean on the negative in a positive way So I wouldn't agree so much even like tell people how great they are, but more trying to understand like what's the disconnect with what they're trying to get done and what they're trying to lose. And so, yeah, social can be used just like any tool. It's a powerful tool if you use it right. But like any powerful tool, what is it? Great power comes great responsibility. That's nothing new. And so do you want me, Brian, to kind of share a couple of the key pillars that a seller could use on LinkedIn and start reaching and actually getting some of those high-level buyers talking to them?
Yeah, let's go through a couple of those.
It's really simple. There's 4 key fundamentals to this. And first off is messaging. This is where marketing and sales have to marry, is messaging creates meaning. So your buyer doesn't necessarily care that you're the business development manager at, Frank's Telecommunications. It's about them. People are selfish by nature, and telling people that you provide disruptive, innovative technology services means nothing. So messaging creates meaning. You have to understand when you're talking to your buyers, when you're building those relationships, how can you take those challenges and problems and relay that into your messaging right on your social media profiles and leverage those on your social media profiles. If you look at my profile, it's set up like a landing page or a micro website for our
That's
business.
what it is, right? Yeah. It's not a resume.
It's exactly what it is. It's not a resume. It's a value-added resource. So messaging creates meaning. Engagement is what's going to drive the eyeballs. And there's some amazing ways you can be engaging with people on LinkedIn outside of just go sending a spammy connection request like, hey, I saw you're the sales director, like, let's connect. There's so many ways of influence and power that you can be able to connect up with a CTO of a Fortune 500 company if you know how to go about it the right way. But what you want to get that person to do is to first have that touch point with your messaging. So you can use all these touch points, following, content engagement, using influencers that they're already connected with, using your tribe, go back to tribe, your tribe to facilitate those warm introductions. Just like if I saw that person across the room at a trade show, I would do the same thing in person as I would on social media. It's no different whatsoever. So engagement also means follow-up message, like how you're following up with that person once you are connected. You don't need to send a sales pitch when you connect with someone the right way. If you're doing, and I've seen you do a number of posts on this, it's so fun, is seriously, guys, like, stop talking about yourself, provide value, and you can provide value in the form of pictures in the inbox, video in the inbox. You can send videos to people. I do that every single day. Matter of fact, I was doing that before we jumped on this podcast. I was sending videos to some prospects of mine on LinkedIn, video, audio. So engagement, content closes the gap on all your other activities. You have to have content. And little bit of, your company's blog is great. Your other stuff is great, but custom.
Yeah. I mean, I think anything that talks about the problem you solve or a problem that's adjacent to the problem you solve that will, ignite a conversation, percolate some interest instead of pitching what your product does. No one cares.
No one cares.
No, I'd say probably 99% of the posts are about, I just got promoted, or we got a new office and we're hiring a bunch of people. You care.
Yeah. Which, and by the way, positive feedback reinforces people doing that, because someone sees their colleague does a post like, we just hired 10 new people. Here's us at our soccer game. And it gets 1,000 likes on LinkedIn. And people are like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what's going to make me an influencer. So I see a lot, and you see a lot of this crap too, Brian, is people share cat videos and like these things on LinkedIn
Robot videos. It's like, yeah, that'll get engagement, but is that the engagement you want?
Yes. I would rather have 100 highly targeted people in my tribe who are looking at my stuff than 100,000 irrelevant eyeballs on LinkedIn that mean nothing for my business.
Nothing.
Don't drive to sales. So content really has to close the gap. You have to have this in place, but that's going to bring you, it's going to lead to your messaging, which is the foundational pillar. And then last is one of my favorites, consistency.
Yes.
Consistency closes sales. Now, consistency can't be done in a vacuum, which is why amazing people like Brian, OG, LinkedIn using Burns is here for, is to help. Consistency comes from having mentors. And so you have to find a way to have consistency, whether it's support from your team, support from an outsourced person, another salesperson that keep you committed. Commitment is going to drive that consistency with all the other things.
Yeah, because it is huge, because it's like a little snowball. And if you do a sprint and then you stop, the snowball melts. And if you do just a little bit, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, but consistently, as you stated. But then if you drop off for 2 weeks, people are like, who is this person? And you're not going to see immediate results, but they will happen. You're not going to see immediate results with anything.
Well, yeah,
people. Great conversation, Connor. Sorry.
This is awesome, man. I'm having so much fun. People think social media is like it's an overnight tool to generate leads. When it is exactly. It's funny you saw me grin so big when you said snowball, because I'm literally creating a value video right now that's called the social selling snowball effect. Because it is that. It's like people get too hung up on the end result when they first dive into this, and that makes them burn valuable sales relationships that may not even be immediately impactful for you, maybe 5 years down the road.
Right. And you got to understand, anyone on social, it's all outbound, that none of them are inbound. So they're not in market. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you do. They don't know why they should care. So you got to warm it up. You start with a little snowball, and then you're kind of.
They throw the snowball at their face.
Yeah, that's what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh. Nothing like a snowball in the face.
Well, you said it before we started doing this. You've been at this game for how long? Like, how long have you been putting content out on LinkedIn? And how long until you have, like, people see you now and they're like, look at this guy, this overnight success. But
well, I've been on LinkedIn since 2005, so 14 years. So I've seen it go from a resume, and if you got on LinkedIn, your manager would think you're looking for a job. So it turned into a business platform probably, I'd say 4 or 5 years ago. And, each content formats had different success. I've had the most success with video. But if you look at the snowball, in January, a good video would get 5,000 views. Okay, now a good video gets 100,000 views. Right. And do I know the algorithm probably better than most people? I do. But still, there's people they follow, they watch, and I get more views on LinkedIn on one video in one day than I get on YouTube for all my videos, over 1,000 in a month.
I use YouTube quite a bit to house a bunch of my content, and but you guys, those of you listening, you live in the best time ever for sales, ever. Like, understand how grateful you should be to have these tools for reach. And whether it's on a very microscopic level or you're a Microsoft sized company, 100,000 views. What does that do? Now, 100,000 views, again, that's good. That's fine and dandy. How's that been on the impact on your business, on the bottom line in the last several months?
Bottom line takes another probably 3 to 6 months, because the funnel is that builds awareness. So I get about 100 followers a day. on LinkedIn, and then probably 500 listeners per week on the podcast. Right. And they come from everywhere. Who knows? Ads, YouTube, word of mouth. You can't trace it. Right. I don't even know who they are.
That's a challenging thing on podcasting.
Yeah, there's no identity.
Yeah.
So you have to earn their interaction. So I don't do any real outbound selling. So it's all inbound, and I'm 100% digital now. So it is the way to do it. I just can't imagine. You got to think like a LinkedIn ad is about $4 per click minimum. Okay. So you're talking about 100,000 views. Let's say only 10,000 have real interaction. That's $40,000 in a week.
Yeah.
I can't afford that. A little over my budget.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at what you have. Like I've seen some of your posts and everything. It is a snowball. It starts small, but people don't undervalue being a micro influencer.
Right. Yeah.
You can have a group of
the video.
No.
But you have to show up.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of participate and get the little snowball moving.
Are you getting LinkedIn Live yet? Have you gotten any hint of it?
I haven't. I've asked people, and I don't know what. I'm sure it's word of mouth and relationships, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. I've joined other people's lives.
Yeah.
Even the popular people, there's less than 500 people. Most time is less than 100
who have it or that watch the live. Yeah.
That actually join the live.
I'm fascinated to see because like you said, you've been using LinkedIn 14 years. Right. I created my first LinkedIn profile when I was 15. Yeah. So I've been using it a while, but I've been using it, softly and observing very much. But LinkedIn Live is going to bring a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Make it that much more important for you guys to be just valued.
You get the interaction that,
interaction.
The only interaction now I get is compliments, which is either very positive or very negative. There's nothing in the middle. Right.
Uh-huh.
And people usually don't watch the video. They read the title and disagree with it. And the title's supposed to be provocative. So you watch the video. Not so you just hate in the comments. But hey, I'll let you go. Where can people connect up with you on LinkedIn and learn more about your company?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, man. You guys can connect with me, Connor Dube, Connor Dube, D-U-B-E. It's a pretty fitting last name for being a Coloradoan. I'm maybe in the wrong business. Who knows? And then you can also find us at activeblogs.com.
I think what I got out of that is creativity. It's one of those elements that we've really got to apply to prospecting, because I think we have a fixed mindset about prospecting, meaning that we think we know everybody, we know every approach, we've done everything, and we work ourselves into this mindset of comfort, even though we're not making $500,000, $1 million a year. And I meet a lot of people who know it all, making $200K a year or $100K a year, and they're not really comfortable, but they don't want to experiment. They don't want to think outside their little box that they created from rejection and failure. But that's sales. Sales is experimenting, and this entrepreneurial reps that I have on in this case, where although he works for a company, he is really responsible for generating that revenue. And the person who's going to fire him, he knows pretty well. So we have to produce. We have to figure things out, and we have to start experimenting and becoming creative. Get out of this fixed mindset of, oh, I know it all, I've done it all, I've seen it all, nothing will work. Nothing at all. And start coming up with a process. Now, I came up with my own process because I had to. When you work for somebody else, there's some brand recognition, there's some leads, there's some already established product and customers to kind of build off of and develop. But when you go out on your own And the only thing that you're selling is you and your ideas. I had written a book and I could send the book, but, trying to get a sales leader to read a book about sales, because guess what? Every sales leader thinks they know it all. And this is the B player trap. It is like, okay, you're making $200K a year. You want to make 500. What? You think the world's going to change? We're in the best economy we've ever had. This is it. Okay. The tide is as high as it's probably going to get. It's only going to go out lower. And guess what? We're going to find out who's not wearing a bathing suit. This is the difference between the growth mindset and the fixed mindset as far as prospecting. Now, I think today with digital internet, all this information, it's there. What we have to do now is become more creative about connecting up with people. So I created Start the Conversation and Get the Meeting out of necessity, because when I went out on my own, I started doing what I knew how to do. I was reasonably good on the phone. I rocked it before. I was really good with email. I was, at the time, LinkedIn really didn't matter, but I was on it. I used it, and I could network, and I got some gigs from that. But what I found was what everyone's finding. It's like, people aren't picking up, especially I was selling to VPs of sales. Guess what? Unless you're a customer or a rep, they don't want to talk to you. They want to make revenue, not spend revenue. So I had to find a more creative way of building rapport with them so that they would talk to me. Most of us are selling something that a pitch doesn't work, because they don't know what it is, why they need it, and how is it different. You're just another verbal commercial coming through the phone, text coming through email, and they don't want it because they've got 20 behind you and there's been 20 before you, and it's just this never-ending river. We have to differentiate ourselves in a much more creative way, and the only way to get it to scale is to come up with a system. And guess what? You have to come up with a system, and you can't just take a course and figure it out. I learned that. So I had office hours, a meetup twice a month, a group meetup where you can ask questions, listen to other people, record it and put it into the course so you can listen to it and review it as many times as you want at your own pace. And then how about one-on-ones? They're included in the course, no extra charge. Now, would I provide one-on-ones if I didn't think that this system works? And I'm changing it. I'm molding it all the time because different things are working. Things like video email come out, game changer. Things like video on LinkedIn, game changer for me, might not be for you. The LinkedIn algorithm changes. Maybe Facebook works for you. Maybe email's your thing. Maybe snail. But I come up, what you have to do is a system, because what people do is it's the shiny object of the month. And all of a sudden they try it, they get mediocre results, they try something else. So there's got to be a silver bullet out there. The silver bullet is your process. This is the only thing I've ever seen work, and I've been doing sales, and believe me, I looked for the silver bullet my first 5 years. And then all of a sudden, I saw people who had a system, who had a rhythm, a process, a recipe for success, and that became theirs because they were all different. Some people were, relationship-based. Some people were like expert-based. Some people knew business acumen. But that recipe worked for them. And in prospecting, you have to come up with a recipe that works for your clients and works for you. It takes a little bit of molding. That's why I offer the one-on-ones. And that's why I love this type of interview that I did today. I love talking to other reps and seeing what they're doing. Now, Connor, if he took my course and did some one, I could double his business. But who wants all that money? It's too much trouble. The bank will call. The vault is full. Brian, no more money. Okay, I get it. You might go up on a tax rate. Somebody might find out how much money you're making, that you doubled your money. Somebody might get suspicious. But go to B2B Revenue, check it out. Just go to the training tab. You can schedule a call to talk over the courses. And this is a game changer. If you can get into new accounts systematically without cold calling, without all the rejection, imagine how great your life will be. Are you open to that, or are you a know-it-all? If you're a know-it-all, please do not get into the course. I've dealt with you, ever since I got out on my own. The people who sit there with their arms folded, making 80% of their quota, blaming everybody but themselves. And the problem is the world is changing. It's a river that's going by and you're missing it. Don't miss it. So go there, schedule a call, and let's get going. Let's double your number. Not your quota, your income. Oh, are you helping me out? I'm helping you out, aren't I? Go over to LinkedIn, check out some of my videos, give it a little like, a comment, and a share. I'd appreciate that. Tell another rep about the podcast. Check out the other 2 podcasts, Sales Questions, Brutally Honest Answers. Also, B2B Revenue Leadership. I've got some great interviews on there. You might want to check them out. Here we go. We'll see you.